What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of This Week in Sports. You know who it is. I'm your host, Romeo Sharp. Behind the camera, we got Noah today as well. Y'all, I mean, you can't see, but or you could see. I'm wearing one of my jerseys from one of the men's basketball leagues I played in. No, which one was this one?
Don't talk about this shit. I hated this fucking team.
Okay, what was it? Hoop Dreams? Okay, this team was actually terrible, y'all. I'm gonna be real with you. What was it? I think we only won 2 games, was it? No,
we won enough games to go to the playoffs.
No. Oh, no, I'm not talking about last year. I'm talking about the year prior. We won enough to make the playoffs, but we got bounced out in the first round, didn't we? It was like we had.
I thought we won a playoff game.
Did we that year too?
Yeah, we won a playoff game.
Not the one where
our boy G Money fucking
not last summer. Like
no, I know.
That year we actually
what?
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, regardless, I know I played terrible. I ain't gonna lie. I didn't.
No fucking chemistry, dude.
We had no chemistry whatsoever. I think we were playing with some folks from that. I think Noah and them played with back in like freshman year of high school. I think it was, and then like we just all linked up again and made that team. So.
I'll say this, bro. Everybody individually was fucking fine, but together we sucked ass. So then I didn't pick this name. Okay, I didn't pick this name. I don't remember who did.
I mean, the jersey kind of clean though. I'm not gonna lie. I think
I like the jersey.
The jersey's pretty clean. Got my name on the back and everything too. That was like one of our 3 teams we played for. Because I know we played for
played for a lot.
I don't know. At least when I played with you, we played with Danny's brother and his team. They had jerseys made for us too. I forgot what they were called, but that was like the other year prior. So that was like, what was that? Was that like 2021 or something?
Yeah, we played with some Filipinos. We played with Hoop Dreams. Played with fucking
Splash Mountain. That was last year. Okay,
I like that team.
That team was actually y'all. Splash Mountain. Let me see. We actually we won like 6-7 games or something like that. We actually were doing pretty well. I mean, it was just a constant rotation in terms of players.
By the way, out of like 8 games, right? Yeah. So it was like we were like 5-3 or like 6-2. But,
yeah, like we were doing well.
Fuck you. That was good. Like we were good. I don't care. Care what you guys say.
I think the main thing too, I think it was just like a revolving door in terms of like players coming in and out. I know a lot of the other players, like they had other stuff going on. So it's like, it was a little bit difficult to, have the right amount of players. I think when we went to we won our first playoff game, or did we lose? Because
I don't remember, dude. Okay. I just remember being super depressed after that season.
We were super tired too, because I think that game we only had 6 players that one of our playoff games, because, a couple folks couldn't show up. And so, man. And by the way, we were up by 20 that game. We were up by 20 at halftime.
We were up by 20. We could have held the ball. There was no shot clock. We could have just been passing the ball around, but instead we tried to extend the lead or something. Does that usually happen too with flag football? Because I know you played flag football too. I don't know how long ago that was. That was like a year and a half.
So actually, the flag football. So yeah, y'all, I last year I was pretty active with like all these like teams. Like I played for this it was called Volo or something like that. They have like all different types of sports. They got soccer, they got pickleball, they got flag football. So I played in a co-ed flag football team as well. I think what was it? We only had like 8-9 games that season. We only won 1 game, y'all, because I was on a free agent team. So I was super last minute. I really had this urge of just wanting to play. I was like, fuck it, I'm just go join a team. I didn't have enough time to actually build a team. Like all of my friends, all of them were like, Romeo, why didn't you just tell us? We could have a really good team. Honestly, I'm gonna be real with y'all. Flag football is a little bit more complicated than what it seems like, in a sense of like, it's the same thing of like, you need to have chemistry. Like you need to have chemistry, and like the way the game is played, it's 7-on-7, and it's like, and like I said, it was co-ed, so we had to have like 3 girls on the roster and then 2 girls on the field at every point of play. And so I remember just, I was playing with, like I said, people I did not know. Like I was playing with a 40-year-old man. I don't remember his name, but shout out to him. He was all right.
He's the Asian dude?
Yeah, the Asian dude. Like, yeah. I mean, he kept telling me, he's like, I can't. He's like, Romeo, I can't play quarterback. My elbows. I said, damn dog, like I got to play quarterback. And mind you, y'all, I mean that was my dream. That was my dream. So my 8th grade and freshman year, I tried out to play quarterback. It didn't end well at all for me. I ain't gonna lie. I couldn't even throw 25 yards, and I held the ball too long as well. Like I didn't know how to read a route or read defenses, so that just didn't go well. But when I played for the flag football league last year, I think that went pretty. It went pretty smooth. I mean, I had a good time. We lost a lot. I know I rolled my ankle a couple times. I cramped up a lot because like I was doing it all on the field. I felt good. It felt good because I felt like I was the star player on the team, and it was like.
Okay.
I did.
Okay.
Like I was like everything ran through me, not even on some cocky, like none not cocky stuff, but like it was genuinely just everything ran through me. So yeah, I was really active, and like I said, it was fun, and I'm hoping I want to try to do that again, but this time maybe have an actual solid team, like folks that I know, like have my friends and stuff like that. Join. I had my sister, play a couple games. I had my cousin, pop in and out too as well. I mean, we got dominated every single game, but it was still fun.
Would you do anything else other than like football and basketball? Because I've been really wanting to try, and my dad has been playing it too. I've really been wanting to try pickleball.
I was thinking about that yesterday.
Right?
I was like looking into it because I was like, okay, I'm hoping, like I have a bum ankle right now, y'all, but I'm hoping hopefully by the fall time, like I want to get back into just getting more active and stuff like that as well. And pickleball's on my list. I'm also thinking kickball. I don't know if kickball just looks fun or like some type.
You got a bum ankle? You're trying to do kickball?
I think just it seems fun. Like I remember playing it as a kid in elementary school and stuff like that, and it just seems like something I would like to try out, or even like what is it, like baseball or in some sense, or like softball or something like that. Like
we were gonna do a work like softball league or something like that, or like a softball game at least. Yeah, I don't know. I've never really the only leagues that what we gotta do. We gotta do a bowling league. That would be easy.
Y'all,
bro, my dad did that, and like every single Tuesday, fucking comes in with a little sleeve, and then his shoes is all shined, and his fucking ball is like perfectly like spherical. I don't know, waxed. I don't know.
No, it do be waxy. I ain't gonna lie, it do be
waxy.
That shit is waxy. Well, let's get into some real sports. Let's not talk about me and my dreams and aspirations because, that's way behind me. But let's get into our first segment of the day, which is our top remaining free agents in the NFL and where they could land. So let's get right into it. We have, two of our top premier quarterbacks that are still available in the league right now, those being Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. These are, like I said, when I'm talking about top remaining, I'm only going to name a few guys. I'm going to probably miss some guys, but in a sense of like these are premier names that are still out there looking to sign with the team. So now for Russell Wilson, his market, it has been shrinking and shrinking and shrinking. I've really kind of delved it down to two teams that I believe that Russell Wilson can sign with. One being the New York Giants, even though the New York Giants recently just signed Jameis Winston to a 2-year deal, $8 million contract. With that deal, actually, that's like a very backup quarterback-centric deal. So, like, the Giants are looking to add more pieces, add either another veteran quarterback or maybe go to the draft. But I could really see Russ still going to New York. Him and Jameis Winston maybe battling it out for that QB1 spot. Now, because I think as a casual fan or as a fan in general who's watched Jameis Winston play, it is a roller coaster with this guy. He's one of the first quarterbacks to ever record a 30-30 season, meaning 30 touchdown passes to 30 interceptions. Dealing with this man, he throws pick sixes like no tomorrow. He's very just up and down as a quarterback. Like, you don't know what it's literally called the Jameis Winston experience, because he has his highs and he also has his lows. He'll throw for 5,000 yards, but he also throw for 20 plus picks. He'll throw for 30 plus touchdowns, but he'll turn the ball over 20 times. He'll throw for 5 touchdowns in a game, but like I said, he'll turn the ball over. So this Jameis Winston roller coaster lands in New York, where a team that, you know, they have pieces around there, with their main being Malik Neighbors, the rookie sensation who played really outstanding last year for the Giants, even with quarterback, you know, turmoil going on in that franchise as well. He still amounted like a 1,000-yard receiving season as well. Now, the next team, I think, for Russell Wilson, though, would be the Cleveland Browns. And even though the Cleveland Browns just traded for Kenny Pickett as well, if you look at that Browns roster, they're like the QB roster. Well, I think it's Kenny Pickett, and then I think and Deshaun Watson. But Deshaun Watson is out for the season. Like, he's not playing in this upcoming season because he re-aggravated that Achilles. He retore it. He retore that Achilles, and, you know, I already talked about how I felt about Deshaun Watson and how he really just like destroyed the Browns franchise. You know, and it looks like, you know, the next year, like 2026, he's not coming back to Cleveland. He's not coming back to Cleveland. You know, wherever he goes, hopefully he can rejuvenate his career. But the Browns have a spot for Russell Wilson, and I think that would be a nice spot for him as well. You know, they got some pieces around there for the Cleveland Browns. So, like I said, Russell Wilson's market is very slim right now. He looks like he wants to be a starter. I don't think I can see. He doesn't want to be a backup. He wants to be, you know, the guy. And Cleveland's a good place. And like I said, maybe even New York. So, but our next guy, and man, this train has been going on all year actually with Aaron Rodgers. And the same for Aaron Rodgers could be, that was said for Russell Wilson could be said for Aaron Rodgers. There's not much in the market from him. Like, honestly, it comes down to this: he either signs with this team, which I believe is the Pittsburgh Steelers, or retirement. Like, it's kind of it's like his market got small as soon as I think when the Giants signed Jameis Winston, and then that kind of just shut that door. And then there was interest from the Minnesota Vikings, but they also shut that door too because I don't what is it? I think they believe in JJ McCarthy. He hasn't shown anything yet. He's still basically a rookie this upcoming season. He didn't get to play his rookie season, so they shut that door on Aaron Rodgers. So the only team, and he met with them, I think it was on Friday, I believe. Ooh, my fault. They met with him on Friday for about 6 hours. And, I mean, Aaron Rodgers has stated for the record that he does like Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is probably one of his favorite coaches in the league that he enjoys. So it makes sense for him to go to Pittsburgh. But the thing that's happening is he's taking his time. I think the reports are out saying that he could probably sign as late as after the draft, before the draft. And so Pittsburgh is kind of just in the air, just waiting, but they've been aggressively pursuing. Like Jeremy Fowler of ESPN, he has stated that the Steelers are very aggressive in pursuing him after that 6-hour meeting with Mike Tomlin, with the front office as well, and you know, just being in the facility for that long. One of the Pittsburgh Steelers legends, you know, Cam Hayward, longtime Steeler, he's growing impatient. You know, he just feels like, in terms of Aaron Rodgers, if he wants to be there, he wants to play for this team, he should sign. You know, that's kind of his mentality. Like, look, if you want to play for this team, why are you lagging on it? You know what I'm saying? I think he took a jab at him saying, like, hey, we're not going into this dark room. If you guys, you know, with Aaron Rodgers, he has this whole thing where he has like this special serum or something. He goes into a dark room. He kind of like just, you know, I don't know, some kind of like hippie stuff that he got going on over there. So again, and that Pittsburgh quarterback room is not ideal either. What they just re-signed Mason Rudolph and brought him back. I think besides him, they lost Justin Fields, and like I said, they don't have Russell Wilson. So, and I don't see them actually bringing back Russell Wilson. It looks like that relationship kind of is severed. But like I said, they're and with Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't want to be. I know he mentioned it before when he was in New York with the Jets, with Zach Wilson, saying he didn't want to be like a mentor for him. That's not his job, and I think he still really believes that. He doesn't want to be a mentor to anybody. He wants to be the guy. He probably still believes he has some left in the tank with him. He is 41 years old, coming off 2 years off of an Achilles injury. Like I said, his market is very small. So we're going to see where he ends up. And like I said, I believe the Pittsburgh Steelers are really the only place I can see him going. Either that or, like I said, retirement from him. He had a great career up until, coming to New York. And his last year in Green Bay wasn't the best either, but it's with age. You're just gonna decline slowly but surely. But you're gonna become the villain if you just keep on trying to push yourself. So, like I said, I think it should be Pittsburgh for Aaron Rodgers. Now, in terms of my wide receivers. Now, we have some big names of wide receivers that are still out on the market. Mainly these guys are been dealing with injuries. They're coming off of injuries and age as well. Three guys three wide receivers that are on the market still right now that I believe still got our top tier talent for sure. Stephon Diggs, Keenan Allen, and Amari Cooper. Now, for Stephon Diggs, he had a meeting with the New England Patriots on Friday as well. He left without a deal, but the connection, they're going to still be in contact, the two, just because New England really likes Stephon Diggs. And I think that would be, when he's healthy, when Stephon Diggs is healthy, y'all, he was a first-team All-Pro back in 2020. So, and that's no small feat as well. So, he is coming off a torn ACL. Age, he is around, what is it, 31, I believe it is. No, if you can check to see how old Stephon Diggs is for me. But when he is healthy, like I said, y'all, he is one of the best route runners, and he knows how to create separation. 31? Okay, cool. And then I think that will help and this is what's been important for New England. They need to help Drake May's development in the NFL so they can have to make sure he is their franchise quarterback guy. Now, for Keenan Allen, I got two teams right here I think he can possibly go. He's 33 years old, but he still is probably one of the most reliable wide receiver twos. He's a really good route runner. Again, same as Stephon Diggs. He can really get separation here. I think a reunion with the Chargers, they still need help at wide receiver. They probably want to go young. And so in this upcoming draft, this wide receiver class is deep. So they could go younger. But, Keenan Allen, who is familiar with the Chargers, familiar with Justin Herbert, could reunite with him and really just, revitalize his career after being in Chicago with Caleb Williams. And, he was struggling. He was struggling there. And I think being back in LA with the Chargers will probably be a good fit for him. The other team, though, I think, and they need some help. They need some help at receiver. They only got Calvin Ridley. Is the Tennessee Titans. Like, besides Calvin Ridley, there's not much else on that roster for the Tennessee Titans. They lost Nick Westbrook-Akine this offseason. So I think losing him, who was a pretty reliable wide receiver too for them, they need to find someone else. And like that veteran leadership around Keenan Allen, like I said, and like I already mentioned, he is a really great route runner as well. I think whatever the quarterback situation is going to be there in Tennessee, I personally believe it will be Cam Ward that will be the first overall pick. And then I'll get into that, the mock draft. We'll get into that, later on in the month. We are a month away from the draft, so we're getting closer and closer to all these questions being answered. And so I think whoever the quarterback under center is will really enjoy having someone like Keenan Allen around as well. Now, Amari Cooper, he's the next wide receiver that's on this list. I think two teams I believe he could go to. The first being the Carolina Panthers. Again, they need another vet wide receiver, I think. Yes, they do have Adam Thielen, and yes, he is up there in age as well. He's in his 30s as well. But Bryce Young is a young quarterback as well who gained his confidence last year. He lit up the league in, I believe, the last 6-7 games of the season, and he really just brought his career back. After being on the bench, getting benched for Andy Dalton, and just you seen like his love for the game looked like it went away for a second, but it finally came back. Bryce Young is the quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, and let's not get it twisted. Amari Cooper is a year removed. Last year, it was his down year, but I think with Amari Cooper, I think he has this trend of or this pattern of going from being, having a really down year to having an explosive year the next year. He's only a year removed from having a 1,250 yard receiving season. So he still has a lot in the tank for him. The next team, and I think this team, I talk about them all the time, the Denver Broncos. I believe, someone like Amari Cooper, pairing him with Courtland Sutton will really help out this team. And again, the topic here is kind of just like young quarterbacks. These are two young quarterbacks in Bryce Young and Bo Nix, who need some vet presence to really just help bolster their careers a little bit more. So that's where I think Amari Cooper would go. Now, in terms of our, we have a couple running backs. Two main ones, I think, are Nick Chubb and J.K. Dobbins, both who came off of Nick Chubb, who came off a season-ending injury this last season. He broke his foot, but he can still play at a very high level. He is a bowling ball at running back, I believe. He will run a defender over. He will shake and bake if he needs to. I think a team worthy of picking him up would probably be the Minnesota Vikings. They just released Aaron Jones as well, so they still need to find someone to complement JJ McCarthy in that offense as well. Kevin O'Connell, he's no stranger of the run game. So, and I think that's a really that scheme over there in Minnesota will fit him nicely. And just imagine just Nick Chubb, at full strength, healthy, with Justin Jefferson, with Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, all those guys there in Minnesota, and then J.J. McCarthy, he'll have a reliable running back in his first ever season as a pro, and I think that would really help them out. And like I said, he could still play at a high level even with that broken foot. And then for J.K. Dobbins, his knees. His knees always got something going on. He sprained his MCL, I believe it was, back in December and missed a couple games for the Chargers. I think the team that should sign him would be the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they lost Najee Harris in free agency, and then they re-signed Jalen Warren to a second-round tender contract or something like that. Can't remember exactly. But I think, for the Steelers, getting someone like J.K. Dobbins, pairing him with Jalen Warren, we're also in this draft. It's a deep draft with a running back class as well. I believe there's not too much of a drop-off after Ashton Genty. They could even go to the draft and get another younger guy. But in the sense of right now, I think it would make sense for J.K. Dobbins to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, we have some other notable free agents as well. And mind you, these guys I'm about to name off are all first-team All-Pros. We got Michael Thomas, Jamal Adams, Ezekiel Elliott, Stephon Gilmore, Tre'Davious White, Von Miller, and Brandon Sheriff. All of these guys, like I said, first-team All-Pros, multiple first-team All-Pros, couple of Pro Bowlers in there. We got a couple Super Bowl champions in there as well. The one that I'm looking at, Von Miller, who is a longtime Denver Bronco, got released from the Buffalo Bills, and it wouldn't make necessary, they wouldn't necessarily make a lot of sense for Denver to re-sign him. He is, like I said, I think the main theme around these guys is age and injury. I think Tre'Davious White is the youngest of all those guys at 30 years old, I believe. Brandon Sheriff might be 29, the guard. But I think age, injury has really just been what's hindering these guys Von Miller's had a couple season-ending injuries. Michael Thomas, he's had some injuries. Jamal Adams as well. Zeke hasn't been his former self. Stephon Gilmore hasn't really played his best as well. And then Tre'Davious White, he has some injuries to deal with as well. I think these are other notable guys that, I think a lot of us, these are household names. You take it back 3-4 years, these guys were the stars of the league. Stephon Gilmore is a former defensive player of the year. Von Miller, defensive rookie of the year, like Super Bowl MVP. Von Miller, 3-time Super Bowl, 2-time Super Bowl champ, Von Miller. And, you got the likes of Jamal Adams, who's like a very versatile guy who can play safety, play linebacker. You can put him in the box. His coverage is a little iffy, but he's still a really good player as well. But like I said, these guys, dealing with age, dealing with injury, like those guys are still available. But I want you guys to let me know down below, where do you think, in terms of like these first team All Pros, where do you think they can land? What do you think is what's next for Aaron Rodgers? Is it retirement for him? Is he going to sign with Pittsburgh? What about Russell Wilson? We even talked about the discussion of Russell Wilson possibly retiring himself. He could, if the market just doesn't play in his favor, he should just retire and not force himself to play for a team, and risk, injury and risk his health a little bit more. So we haven't even gotten to that discussion. But you guys let me know down below where you think some of these guys will land. If you think your favorite team should pick these guys up, just let me know down below. Alrighty, y'all. Let's kind of flip a switch over here. Let's get into our second segment, which is the NCAA tournament. So the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament came and went. Let's just point out there that there are no, mind you, and Noah, you talked about it last week. There are right now, as we're speaking right now, there are no perfect brackets remaining out of the 20+ million brackets that were submitted over this weekend. No perfect brackets, which is not surprising. I think the closest one, a bracket got busted on, what day is it? Monday? On Sunday, like yesterday. So the closest one got busted yesterday. So let's get into like some of the big main headlines throughout these first 2 rounds. So one of the biggest thing is no 13 through 16 seed had an upset in this year for the first time since 2017. So none of these teams that kind of squeaked their way into the tournament actually got an upset win. I think the biggest surprise actually was McNeese State. So McNeese State was a 12 seed, and they got an upset win over the number 5 team in Clemson. And this is their first ever tournament win in program history. If you guys aren't familiar with McNeese State, they got a lot of buzz around them just off of their equipment manager, actually, Amir Khan, or as they call him, Amir or Khan. No, I don't know if you're familiar with what's been going on with Amir Khan and just McNeese State as well.
I seen him. I saw the videos of him walking out with the team. He entered the fucking transfer portal, which is funny. So
yeah, I think he's actually the head coach for McNeese State. I believe he's going to NC State. If you can fact check me on that one. The head coach for McNeese State, he did say he will be taking a job at North Carolina State, I believe it was, and Amir Khan, he's going to be moving on with them as well. But in this game alone, you could kind of really just feel, and what's crazy, so as a former equipment manager, I really love and seeing this. I have no hate towards him. I really enjoy this. He's really being himself, and the team around him, like that's the biggest thing, is that the guys around him, that roster, like they all were all in on Amir as well. And the funny thing is, like even the cheerleaders at that game against Clemson, they had, I don't know if you've seen that. No, the cheerleaders had socks that had his face on it. That had his face on it. So I'm like, wow, that man really is doing his thing, and like he is actually the first manager ever in the history of to sign an NIL deal. I think he signed with like Insomnia Cookies, and then I think he signed with Buffalo Wild Wings. So he's getting paid, and for just being like a manager. So, and he does go to Was it NC State? No, did you figure that?
Yeah, Will Wade signed a 6-year deal to become the NC State coach.
Yeah, so I mean, he's gonna go to NC State, but seeing a lot of people. This was our Cinderella team right here. McNeese State, like I said, they got their first ever tournament win. And by the way, this team was undersized in compared to number 5 Clemson. But the crazy thing is they out rebounded them. Hell, at halftime they were up 31-13. Then they shot really well. Towards the end, though, I think Clemson in the second half actually scored like 50-plus points in that second half. So, McNeese State kind of struggled in that second half defensively. I think in the last minute, actually, the last minute and a half, whatever it was, Clemson scored 6 straight threes, to try to cut the lead to 2. Ultimately, though, McNeese won. Like I said, they got their first ever tournament win in program history. Like I said, they're going to be turnover over there. Maybe some of the guys will follow Will Wade to NC State. So who knows where McNeese State goes from there in that sense. Another big surprise. Now, sadly, my SDSU Aztecs didn't even make it into the tournament because they got waxed by North Carolina. But the other San Diego team, UCSD, they were one of the dark horses as well, but their only problem was they were very much undersized. There wasn't a guy over 6'7" on that roster. Playing against Michigan, who has 2 7-footers, and Danny Wolf and Vlad Golden. Danny Wolf, who transferred from Yale, and as an SDSU alum, we watched him kind of dominate SDSU when they played Yale, but ultimately SDSU beat them in 2023 or 2024, one of the years. But they kept it close. But it was the reason they lost, though, it was a sluggish first half shooting for UCSD. So that's their calling card as a team. They have shooters all around, and if they can't knock them shots down, then especially against Michigan, like I said, a bigger team, they kept it close. They ultimately lost by 2 points, or was it? What was it? I think it was.
They lost by 3.
Lost by 3?
Yeah.
Lost by 3. Like I said, they kept it close. A lot of people weren't banking on UCSD even keeping this game close with Michigan. Michigan, this is their first time in the tournament in a while as well. They won the Big Ten. They were the Big Ten champions. And like I said, the biggest thing, I think one of the biggest themes, and I feel like you could say the same too, the biggest theme for the first round of this tournament was, 1, the competition, and then 2, the size difference in rosters. Like a lot of these higher seed teams, 12 through 16, their rosters were smaller than these top tier teams. Would you agree?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And then another surprising team was Drake, and now Drake was another dark horse. They're 11th seed. They actually outperformed Missouri. With the Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year, Bennett Sturtz. He dropped 21 points, and Drake went on to beat Missouri in an upset win as well. So, you had this 11th seed. A lot of people actually were fond of Drake. Drake has always, kind of showed up when they got into the NCAA tournament as well. Now, the next team, This is one of my Final Four teams that I predicted to make the Final Four was St. John's. St. John's got their win. They dominated Omaha. It was a sluggish first half for them as well. I'm gonna get more into them later, but I didn't take into account when picking them that actually St. John's is actually one of the worst shooting teams in this tournament. Actually, I didn't take that into account. And it definitely showed in this game. And like I said, I'll get into the next round of what they did in a little bit. But beating Omaha marked their first win in this tournament since 2000. And I was actually kind of shocked about that because I feel like I have seen St. John's in the tournament a couple of times, but obviously ultimately it looks like they didn't really amount to anything.
St. John's shot 21 for 75, 28%.
Against Omaha?
Oh, against Arkansas.
Oh, Arkansas. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna get into them against Arkansas. Like that game was actually that was horrid to watch. I'm not gonna lie to you. Also, you know what? Another thing I seen, Noah. I don't know if it's just something they don't work on, but damn, these teams, these college students, these college athletes are really bad at shooting free throws. I don't know if you've watched this. I mean, obviously, I mean that's not like I don't know. I feel like that is a key component to playing basketball. You gotta be able to knock down free throws, but these. Every team I've seen, like they're like shooting less than like 70% from the free throw line. You may have a couple folks, but like every player that hits the line, they're like 70%. Is that? I don't know if that's like like I said, I'm a casual, so I don't know if that's actually a normal thing to be, or what do you think?
I mean, free throws have always been like. I think it's the atmosphere too of college basketball. I think younger players they don't really see these kinds of situations as much as like an NBA player does. NBA players, they literally train specifically for that. But sometimes you have Cinderellas who maybe aren't even supposed to be in the tournament sometimes. Or they exceed expectations sometimes and they get put into a position where they have to shoot a free throw. And in college, in some cases, it's 1-on-1. So you have to make that first one, and that's even more pressure. And it's also more pressure on the rebounders, and it's just a bunch of pressure in general for all of the players.
And yeah, that definitely makes sense. Actually, I know there's a lot of pressure. And then if you guys haven't been to a basketball game, a college basketball game, it can get wild. It can get wild, especially if you're in like uncharted waters, like enemy territory. But with these tournaments, the big difference between the men's tournament and the women's tournament, I believe, in those first two rounds, I believe it is, they actually host like the lower seed hosts the game. So like UConn, I believe they host, like the women's team UConn, they hosted their game, and I think it kind of goes more into like just they don't have like the attendance numbers to actually have a tournament outside of their respective homes and stuff like that. So I think, and then for men's, like you have the tournament. The tournaments, I think, where it was in Providence this year. It's in Colorado, Denver, Washington, I believe. So you have it all across the country, and you got teams traveling. But with teams that travel, those students travel well. Those students travel well, especially with these marquee programs and stuff like that. But on to my next big thing, Arkansas. Now, John Calipari, he's a really good coach. I really like him. I think his team is really well coached as well. They beat Kansas, and one of their top guys, Trevon Brazil, he had a double-double with 11 points and 12 rebounds. Jonas Adu had 22 points as well. I think they dominated Kansas, I believe. And it just seems like Arkansas is really just molding it together. They're the 10th seed team right now, and I think they're really just bringing everything together for this team. So, but my main thing is this first round. All four of my Final Four teams survived the first round, which I feel like it's a big step. Obviously, with some of my Final Four teams being the number one seeds, playing 16 seed teams that probably had no business being in the tournament, like Noah was saying. There are some teams that have no business being in there half the time, but it's just how the dice is rolled sometimes. And I forgot to mention this last week though, and it's bad because this is the two-time defending champs looking to three-peat in UConn. So the UConn Huskies were looking to be the first ever to three-peat since UCLA did it in the 1960s and 70s. And no, if you can't, I didn't look into it, but if you can find out who was on the UCLA roster when they three-peated, and maybe that can make and why it's been so difficult now, just being able to even try to three-peat now. Definitely look into that for me. But while he does, let's get into probably the biggest headline in the round of 32, which was, St. John's versus Arkansas. And again, y'all, I should have took this into account when I picked St. John's to be in my Final Four, that they are the worst shooting team in this tournament. And like Noah mentioned before, it showed in this game that they only shot 28% from the field, y'all. And then 9% from the three-point range. Like these guys were just building houses, brick houses, that is. Their big three struggled. RJ Lewis, he actually got benched in the last 6 minutes of the game. He was 3 for 17. He only had 9 points. I believe Rick Pitino actually went on. Obviously, when you go on the pressure, you got to defend your player. And you know how media is. They're gonna ask, "Oh, why did you bench?" I think they asked like, "Oh, did you bench RJ Lewis because he struggled?" No, he played like 30 minutes, and I think Rick Pitino, obviously he wanted to protect his players. Maybe in reality though, RJ Lewis was struggling against Arkansas. Aaron Scott went 1 for 10, y'all. I think he had if you can check, I think he still had like double-digit points, but that probably came from just free throws because Arkansas was in a lot of they were in foul trouble late. Like Arkansas was and St. John's took advantage of that and kept it close with Arkansas's bigs being in foul trouble late in the game. But they ultimately lost 75-66. So I mean, my bracket's been busted. I ain't gonna lie, it's been busted. But my Final Four prediction has now been tainted because St. John's couldn't take care of business against Arkansas. And by the way, John Calipari is the only coach to defeat Rick Pitino in the tournament 3 separate times. He's done it twice against Rick Pitino when he coached at, I believe Louisville. And then John Calipari was at Kentucky. So,
who are you asking about the double though?
What was it, Aaron Scott? Because I think he still had like double-digit points. I think he went 1 for 10.
Yeah, he went 1 for 10. He had 7 points, 10 rebounds.
Oh, okay. It was 10 rebounds he had. Yeah,
10 rebounds. Yeah.
like there's like I said, y'all, that was probably the worst shooting I've seen in a game in a really long time. And I don't know. It's just they struggled. Like, and then Zuby Ejiofor, though, their other one of their other big 3 guys, he had a double-double with 23 and 12. Like he was dominating the paint as well. But again, like I said, they couldn't pull the strings together. They couldn't actually hit their shots. And like I said, I mean, free throws are like they're missing free throws like no tomorrow as well.
Yeah, they shot 22 or 31 from the line, St. John's. Mm-hmm. But that's 71%. That sounds good, but like again, if you hit a couple more, I mean,
you could keep this game.
They only lost by 9.
Yeah, they could have kept this game close. And like I said, y'all, they only shot 9% from the 3-point range. And I believe in college right now, isn't the college 3 a little bit shorter than the actual NBA? A little bit closer than the NBA 3. I mean, still, regardless, I'm not saying I'm the greatest shooter ever at all. I'm not going to say that, but I believe still, like this is what you're getting paid in college. You're getting paid in college to perform at a level. But obviously, like I said, I'm mistaken St. John's because I was riding on the Rick Pitino like bandwagon, but like I said, we were one of the worst shooting teams in the tournament. So
that's more important right now than well, it's just important in general. Mm-hmm. Also, something that I've noticed, I hate that players now, because like you said, the 3-point line in college is closer. I hate that they still shoot from like NBA range most of the time. Like you have an advantage of not having to shoot that far, and they still choose to shoot that far. Mm-hmm. I've been seeing so many sidestep threes, so many like step back, like pump fake step back threes, and you don't really have to do that. I mean, I get it that you're trying to like create a shot, but you have a longer shot clock, and then you also have a shorter 3-point line distance. You're just making it harder. That's just like a pet peeve of mine.
No, and honestly, no, this has been a pet peeve of mine watching, like, it hasn't really settled in, but shout out to Danny because he mentioned it. He's like, Romeo, watching college basketball is like watching college basketball, like offensively, it's rough because all they're doing is handoffs, and like you said, they're honestly they're not creating shots. They're not really creating good shots. With St. John's, they didn't create good shots. They didn't create separation. They were almost every single one of their shots was contested, and they just their pick and rolls were like horrible. I'm watching them try to establish a good like pick and roll, pick and pop, whatever it is. Like it just didn't look sound at all. Now, like I said, Rick Pitino is a great coach, but I think in terms of college players, like it's hard to run an offense with college basketball players. It seems like, college basketball players. Like it seems hard to run an offense.
Of course, I mean it's the age aspect also. Mm-hmm. These are fucking 22-year-old. They're kids. And we're fucking 25. Mm-hmm. So it's like they got more pressure than us. We never played college basketball. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame them for how hard it is to score because everybody's trying their ass off. When you get PT, it's just like, yeah, they make the game look very hard.
Yeah.
And yeah, college basketball is definitely way different than like watching NBA. NBA is slower, and I feel like college basketball too. It's more hustle than anything, you know, and like just trying not to turn the ball over. And yeah,
and I think now they like, and I don't know who. I don't know. It was a discussion for sure. I know there was a lot of people, you know, when watching UConn last year, watching UConn the last 2 years win the national championship, you know, they were comparing them to like, oh, line up UConn against the worst NBA team. I don't think that would fare well at all. Like now, just really thinking about it, you know, just seeing how they play offensively. I mean, don't get me wrong. In terms of UConn, like last year, they had probably one of the best defenses in the nation. Like they have one of the best defenses in the nation for the last 2 years. You know, maybe they can definitely maybe hold their own, but maybe. I'm not gonna disrespect NBA players. Like they're in the NBA for a reason. Like maybe one or two guys on these teams are gonna make an NBA roster, maybe. And it's like, you know, and it's just you can see the dynamic, you can see the differences in, you know, NBA skill set, college skill set. But, you know, diving into that, you know, there's a guy that I like when we talked about him earlier last week. There's a guy that I think is NBA ready, who is gonna really, wherever he goes, he's gonna make immediate impact. Cooper Flag, he's been dominating. Duke has been lining up the competition. They are blowing teams out the water. The first two teams they blew out. They blew up Baylor. They blew up, I think it was like Williams and Mary or something like that. I don't know. Like that was a 16 seed. But Cooper Flag, like I said, he's the only freshman with 30 plus points, 15 plus rebounds, 10 plus assists through 2 tournament games in the last 30 years. Now that's absurd. That's like I said, the only freshman to do so. And we've seen a fair share, especially coming out of Duke. We've had a fair share of good freshmen coming out of Duke. Zion Williamson didn't even, you know, accomplish something like that. And he was a monster in college. So, you know, just seeing Cooper Flag, and he's healthy, y'all. I told y'all, Duke is my favorites to win it all. And it looks like they're going to be skating. They're going to be, I won't say skating because they do play, I think they play Arizona in the Sweet 16 against Caleb Love. And Caleb Love, you know, he has a knack to beating Duke. When he was over at UNC, they beat Duke. I believe it was last year. Another surprise team has been the 6th seed BYU Cougars. They've done really well. They've won their first 2 tournament games as well. Again, going back into McNeese State, their undersized roster caught up to them. They got completely dominated by Purdue. They just like I said, the size factor. Like, you know, Clemson was actually a really bad team. If you look back at it, like they were really a bad team.
They got out rebounded. McNeese, they got out rebounded 17-29 on defensive rebounds, and then offensive rebounds. Purdue had 12, and they only had 7. So yeah, they definitely got. They got big body. They got big body, and I think that was the main thing, too. Like, for McNeese State to even be competitive in that game against Purdue, they would have to get offensive rebounds. Like, if they miss their shots, they would have to go and get an offensive board, crash the glass, and, you know, try to put up another shot. But they were fighting, though. I was watching that whole game, and they were down, but
they were fighting.
They kept chipping back. Like, I think at one point it went up to only a 4-point lead with Purdue, and then yeah, they just couldn't seal it.
They couldn't seal it, and then like I said, I think there's probably going to be major turnover over there in McNeese State. Who knows if this might be their final appearance in a while with Will Wade leaving to NC State and then losing Amir.
That's the biggest one.
That's the biggest one, y'all. Fuck. But my other 3 Final Four guys made it as well. My other ones, Kentucky. Actually, Kentucky tied with UNC for the most tournament wins with 134, and they look to actually surpass UNC as they face Tennessee, which Tennessee, you know, that's a really good SEC team over there. So, and then Auburn has been shooting really well. UConn played Florida, and now I've been completely completely neglected Florida, y'all. Florida's actually a really good team as well, and Walter Clayton and company, those are some really good guys over there in Florida. UConn loses. A lot of people say it was a controversial game. They feel like the refs kind of screwed UConn over, but they lost to Florida. So, Dan Huntley and those guys are not going to be able to three-peat this year. And it's going to probably be a long time until we see another team three-peat. With NIL and stuff like that now in play, I feel like maybe it could be a little bit easier, which is kind of crazy. Like I said, in the 60s and 70s when UCLA wanted NIL didn't exist. I mean, maybe obviously the rules of basketball were completely different than they are now. So, but, we're going to have to wait another while until another team tries to come in or three-peat. Another one of the main games from the round of 32 was Maryland getting versus Colorado State. Now, Colorado State was a pretty solid team that a lot of people, thought was another dark horse that can, stretch out really far in this tournament as well. But, that game was a back and forth just in that final stretch of that game. I don't know. Did you check in with that game at all?
Yeah, I think I. It's on the TV all the time at the bar.
Mm-hmm. I like Maryland, and it was the first buzzer beater, and so Derek Queen hit a fadeaway buzzer beater. It was the first one in the tournament since 2023 when SDSU's Lamont Butler hit a buzzer beater in the Final Four to send SDSU to the national championship game. So that was exciting, but I looked into it, and it looks like, after close inspection from experts, on one of the articles I read, they said that it looked like Derek Queen actually traveled on his fadeaway. So they should have negated that.
I don't think it's a travel though, because the ball's floating in the air. So if it's floating in the air and it's still in your hand, you're not technically grabbing it for possession. So you technically don't have steps to take. And then he takes the 2 steps, and then.
But you know how it is in the tournaments. Whenever it's big games like this, they're gonna people are gonna have their eyes are closely locked in on how the refs play out these games, and then just little nuances like that, like if a guy traveled, if there was anything like goaltending or anything like that happened in the.
Man, that's not a fucking travel. That's a good move, bro. I'm watching it right now. That's a good move.
With all that going on, y'all, let's take a quick look ahead at the Sweet 16, which I believe starts on Thursday. The SEC is representing well, y'all. They're proven to be the best conference in college basketball this year. They have 7. That's the most ever actually in tournament history to reach the Sweet 16. You should definitely expect closer competitive games as opposed to the first 2 rounds in a sense. Especially that first round. When we're talking now, thinking about competitive, let's kind of switch it over to the women's. In the women's bracket, y'all, it's really cookie. I think I mentioned it's cookie cutter in a sense of competition, because you can't really I filled out the women's bracket, by the way. No, I was this close. I was pretty close. My first 2 rounds were pretty close. I think they were pretty close. I had a perfect bracket up until I think Vanderbilt, the Tennessee women's Vanderbilt, beat Oregon. But overall, if we look at the scores, y'all, I think UConn beat up on Arkansas State 103 to 34. There's a huge disparity between women's basketball rosters for sure. The top teams, they will dominate. The top teams will dominate, and you won't expect anything to get close until the Elite 8, I believe, in terms of the women's bracket. But for the men's bracket, we're in the Sweet 16. It's gonna get more competitive. Like I said, 3 of my Final 4 predicts are still in it. I still got Duke winning it all, y'all. I still lock that in. Cooper Flag is playing out his goddamn mind. Lock that shit in. Duke winning it all. Duke. All right, I'm gonna repeat it. Duke. Now, Final 4, I might need to switch that up a little bit now. Let's kind of look over here. Let's look at it real quick. My Final 4, I'll probably get into that a little bit later. But like I said, I still got Kentucky in there. Auburn's still alive, and then so is Duke. So Like I said, Duke, winning it all. Now, y'all, with all that being said, it is now time for Noah's favorite segment, the sharp angle. So, Noah, let's get into some of these questions today.
All right, first up, what do you think about the Raiders' offseason signings? Who should they draft in the first round?
So in terms of the Raiders signings, I think after a lot of turnover in terms of that defense, that secondary, they lost a lot of guys. If I look over here, they lost the likes of Devon Diablo. They lost their safety in Marcus Epps. They lost their starting corner in Nate Hobbs. They lost both of their starting safeties, actually. They lost both of their starting safeties. But what they did was they rebolstered that secondary. They signed Jeremy Chin, and they signed Lonnie Johnson Jr. as well. They got Eric Stokes. They added a speedy running back with Raheem Mostert as well. Like I said, they did lose a lot of guys on the defensive side. And then they also traded for Geno Smith, which I mentioned earlier, which was a solid trade for them. I think, they're building something over there in Vegas for sure. And then they got Pete Carroll now. They got, Chip Kelly. And then now with the draft upcoming for them, I really believe, I was really convinced. I think they should spend that pick on Ashton Genty. But now we're getting Raheem Mostert. He's not no Ashton Genty, but still, they can kind of focus on other holes on that team. And I think they should go with one of the Michigan guys. I like Will Johnson a lot. Yes, he was injured all of last season. But I feel like once healthy, he can be a really solid elite corner for the Vegas Raiders. Or even the defensive lineman, Mason Graham. He's a really solid defensive guy. Bolstered that defensive line as well. So that's what I think about the Raiders.
All right. Does Arkansas have what it takes to win it all after they beat St. John's?
Now,
kind of just talking about that.
Yeah, we were just kind of speaking on that. They, like I said, like I mentioned, they're a really well-coached team. They are a physical team as well. They're a really physical team. They got a tough task this week, actually, y'all. They play Texas Tech, and Texas Tech is no joke themselves. I think it's Obi Toppin's brother, actually. His brother plays for Texas Tech, JT Toppins, and he's really good. He's actually really good. So I think in order for them to even think about winning it all, they have to get past Texas Tech, which is not no easy accomplishment. And they, like I said, they have experience bleeding throughout that program from their head coach, John Calipari, with the players that they got too. They got those players, some of them players they got from the transfer portal as well. I think they have the tools, y'all. They have the tools, but my favorites to win it all, Duke will definitely. If anyone can stop them, it's gonna be Duke. I think they're in that same bracket with Florida, and Florida's a really good team. And like I said, they got to win against Texas Tech this week. If they win against Texas Tech, it gets more serious, the conversation. But like I said, they're a physical team. They're well coached, and John Calipari, like that. The vibes he's bringing to that program is out of this world right now.
All right, next up, what do you think about Tiger Woods confirming his relationship with Vanessa Trump, Donald Trump Jr.'s ex-wife?
Wait, that's a question?
Are you not sports-related podcast? Or? Is this not a sports-related podcast?
Okay, well, I was kind of told that kind of threw a wrench in there. But how do I feel about that?
How do you feel? Tell us how you really feel about this.
That's a little strange, I think. But wait, who was Tiger? Who was he dating before him? Was he dating someone? I thought he was dating someone. I don't know who he was dating actually. I don't. I'm gonna be honest. I don't follow this shit. I don't know what the hell that is. But congratulations. I hope everything goes well. Yeah. Shit.
All right. Is this the best offseason for the Broncos? I'm assuming that's what the question is.
Oh yeah, I think it is. Yes, I think this is probably their best offseason since 2012 when they signed Peyton Manning, and maybe even that 2015's offseason before they won the Super Bowl as well. Let's kind of look over the guys that they did sign. They signed Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Evan Ingram, and Trent Sherfield. Trent Sherfield, he's like a wide receiver 3, but they filled some holes on that team. They re-signed DJ Jones, who was a key contributor of that defensive line, plugging up them holes. He was plugging the holes for sure, and like he was a real good run stuffer. They re-signed Jarrett Stidham. Now this is not the great craziest signing in the world, but he's just a solid backup quarterback, and a good mentor for Bo Nix. And then we still got the draft upcoming, and they can. I'm super excited for who they got coming, who they're gonna go for in this draft. They can go now with these signings. They can go in any direction now. Like I feel like they don't have to stick to one. Like you need to get this guy. And like I said, this is a deep draft in the sense of wide receivers, running backs. I think, like I said, after this draft too, I really think this is probably one of their best off seasons. And I think just dealing with. They were just finally able to make movement. Like they were actually able to make some moves in this offseason after not being able to and just being stuck in a financial hole, And so yes, I think this is probably one of Denver's best off seasons.
All right. You know who Victor Oladipo is from the NBA? He used to be on the Pacers and on the Thunder and.
Was he on the Magic?
Yeah, he's on the Magic. Yeah. He did the Black Panther dunk. Anyway, he was on a podcast and he said, "I would consider Steph Curry the best ever." I just wanted to get your quick thoughts on where Steph is in the GOAT conversation. It's been kind of heating up a little bit more just because in Paris he went crazy. I think for 39 or something like that, and something crazy. Just off the top of your head, what do you think? Where do you think Steph is on the hierarchy?
Is this current players or just all time?
He's saying all time.
He's saying all time.
He said, "I would consider Steph Curry the best ever." I
mean, I go based off of this, y'all. I've watched Steph, growing up. I've watched LeBron, growing up. I watched, I honestly
You kind of look like Steph.
I've watched guys like Tim Duncan and stuff like that growing up, and I take it as a casual fan, Michael Jordan. Like I said, he's probably, that's everyone's argument is Michael Jordan and LeBron. But when it comes to Steph, I think he's right there with them. I think I think 1A, 1B, and then Steph might be 1C. I don't know. That might be a hot take, but I think Steph is right.
I don't know, man. You're forgetting about Kobe. You didn't even mention Kobe.
But yeah, of course Kobe as well. See now, damn, that's crazy though. Now that I think about it, because now like I said, you brought him in my mind too. Greatest of all time.
Yeah, he said greatest ever.
Greatest.
I mean, of course, I don't think he's talking about if you take into account the analytics, the stats, his accomplishments. I think he's just saying straight up.
Honestly, yeah,
that might be my best ever.
I can see the argument there for Steph being the greatest of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, I just wanted to throw in a little NBA question. All right, let me find the last one. All right, last question of the day. What NFL team has the most expectations going into next season? I feel like you kind of answered this already when you were talking about the Eagles and the Chiefs.
Yeah,
definitely. A little bit a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, we already kind of know what we'll expect from this Eagles team, from the Chiefs team. I feel like these two teams are really kind of solidified themselves as the top tier teams in their respective conferences. But I do have two teams that I think they have a lot of expectations going forward. I think the main team is the Cincinnati Bengals. Now they locked up their star wide receivers after all those questions being in the air in terms of them and what they'll do moving forward with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. And then Joe Burrow, he had a tremendous season last year. They went 9-8. But despite going 9-8, they missed the playoffs. So I have high expectations for them this upcoming year. The defense has to step up. Joe Burrow cannot carry this team again. They cannot ruin another year of Joe Burrow with poor defensive play. So the Bengals are one of my teams with the most expectations. And then I think this is a lot of people believe this. The Buffalo Bills, they have to get over this Patrick Mahomes hump in the playoffs. Every time they play, in the regular season, they got Patrick Mahomes' number, but when it comes to the playoffs, they're stagnant. They just shut off. They don't play well. Josh Allen plays well, but as a team, it seems they just don't have enough in the tank to So they need to get over that hump. And Josh Allen has now signed that. He got his extension. It's a player, like I said, I mentioned, it's a player friendly extension, but The time is now. The time is now for Buffalo to take that next step to at least make it to the Super Bowl. That'll be a huge step in itself. But those two teams, the Bengals and the Buffalo Bills, they have the most expectations. I feel going forward next year. And with all that, y'all, that was a great episode. No, I feel like that was a great. I think that was a great little week of just talking about what's been going on. And like I said, I really appreciate everyone that has been sending in their questions. I've been really just engaging with us and just really just showing your support. And I really appreciate everyone so far. And we're this ball is rolling. This ball is rolling, and we're chugging these episodes out for y'all. And just follow, like I said, follow me on Instagram, This Week in Sports Pod. Follow me on TikTok this week, same as my Instagram handle. Keep tuning in, y'all. So.